You're listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. This is the podcast where I talk to successful women in entertainment and hear their stories. This episode is brought to you by the entertainment payroll company Extreme Reach. They have beautiful software and services to support all areas of media and content creation, from tax incentive support to accounting software and payroll services. If you are making film and television, you should call them and tell them I sent you. They are committed to diversity and promoting women, and the fact that I'm telling you about them means that they have put their money where their mouth is. Let's reward them for that. Now for this episode, I sat down with a showrunning / writing / acting team, Chelsea Rivera and Taylor C. Baker. They have a web series called Female Friendly on Seeka TV, and they're going to tell us all about it. It may not be what you expect. They are actors and writers and producers, and I love them. We had a great time chatting at my table, and I edited this a little bit less than usual. There are many references to my cat who joined us, and we talk over each other a bit, but it's really fun, and you will feel like you are in the middle of it. They are hilarious. They tell me about their journey finding their way in Hollywood and all the creeps that have offered to sleep with them to help their careers. And spoiler, you don't need to sleep with the creeps to make it in Hollywood. You can find us at theother50%.com for added features, photos, show notes, and the merchandise. And you can also listen on Apple Podcasts and all the podcast places. Now, I've been plugging the Kiss My Age show, which is now 3 episodes in. It's the show where women of a certain vintage, grown-ups, talk about all the things that matter. And if you fall into that category, please join the Facebook group and join the conversation. All right, here's my conversation with Chelsea and Taylor. Have a listen. One is we have to identify your voices.
Okay.
So Chelsea, say hello to the people.
Hi, my name's Chelsea Rivera.
And Taylor, say hello to the people.
Hi, this is Taylor C. Baker.
Let's talk first about your show and all about that, and then we'll kind of go back to the beginning of how you guys started.
Great.
Tell us about your show.
So, Female Friendly is a comedic, female-driven series. It's a buddy comedy about 2 very polar opposite best friends who decide to start a female-friendly production company.
Porn production company.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Female-friendly porn production company.
Not to put too fine a point on it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a small detail.
It's a small detail of the entire series that everybody should definitely know about. But yeah, female-friendly porn production company.
Yeah.
And where is it?
It is on Seeka TV, Seeka TV. We were at a festival, like every
As you
little
do.
series dream
Yes, you do.
gets picked up in a matter of speaking at a festival at Austin Web Fest 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And I met this wonderful man, George Reese, who is the founder of the company. And it's essentially like they're aiming at being a Netflix sort of streaming service specifically for independent content. And it's all currently series. And they have
Although they do have a couple short films, I believe, on there, but mostly
series.
You're right. It's definitely
driven.
geared towards indie series. They plan to become subscription based, but for right now, it's open to everybody.
It's SeekaTV.com or
It's
Seeka.tv.
Yeah. / female friendly, I think.
Yeah.
It's
We usually hang out on the popular bar.
We
at the
do,
bottom.
we
There's
do.
like a who's watching what, and typically, who knows? And when this airs later, it
may all be different.
only get better and just be more and more popular.
Do they have an app I can get on my Roku?
Yes,
They do.
Oh,
They have
nice.
Apple TV.
Roku and Apple TV.
Well, that's exciting. You got distribution.
Yeah.
They
great.
came in and they saw our first 2 episodes, which we self-produced at that festival, and they put in some money. They became producers, and but it was a really lovely relationship because they had no creative input.
So they just gave you money and left you alone?
Yes.
Yeah. Which was, I know,
It's
pretty...
It's a miracle.
On our contract, it was very clear that they had no rights over the story or any of where say in the edits or any direction. And I know some people who've gotten money from other platforms. We shall not name, perhaps, that was not the case, and they had their hand in the pot the whole time as far as like giving notes and opinions on, and that changes
approving.
things.
It
it
does,
changes your series. So we're very blessed and very happy to work with them because they've been a very cultivating.
That's
place for us.
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the beginning. What made you think, hey, let's put on a show?
Yeah.
Chelsea.
So, Taylor and I We'll start with Taylor and I, how we met in our relationship. So we met in 2012, the beginning of January, in school at UT Austin. So we were in a narrative film production class together. Hi. a narrative film class. And so
we should say the cat is now on the table.
Sorry, the cat's on the table.
Between us.
Captain Jack's tail just so gently rubbed across my face.
He's insisting on cuddling throughout this whole interview.
Such a cuddle bug.
He really is a cuddle bug.
Warning to future guests.
Okay, or invitation.
Yeah.
It's very lovely.
I think it's an invite. This is a selling point in my book. But yeah, so we had met in that class, but little known to us at the time, we were both involved in this production for TSTV, which is Texas Student Television, called Shenanigans, where we were playing best friends. So when I met her, I was like, wait, are you the Taylor that's in Shenanigans? And she was like, are you the Chelsea that's in Shenanigans? And I was like, oh, aren't we supposed to play best friends in like 2 weeks? And so,
how
yeah, so we had met briefly before that because of class, but then we spent the whole day on set together playing
Best
BFFs,
friends.
Which is pretty cute and funny.
Here we are 6 years later, and she's
actually BFF.
She's my maid of honor,
Yeah.
and she's my best friend. My business partner,
All those
my partner in
things.
crime.
So
I
many partners.
love this.
Yes.
That's so nice.
Yeah, so that's kind of how we met, and then do you want to tell her about UTLA and that whole program?
Yeah, so we both, a huge sell point for us in going to UT, other than the fact that it's an amazing establishment, is that they have something called UTLA, University of Texas in Los Angeles. And it's sort of like study abroad here in Los Angeles, which, I mean, hey, this feels like a foreign country.
A lot of colleges do this.
Yeah, and so we both chose to do our last semester of our senior year, which was spring 2013. And prior to that, this was our senior year. We lived in Austin together the fall of 2012 and then moved out here together, and we're roommates, like actual physical roommates in a room because it was still college. And we lived together, and then we both did a little and we had internships. Chelsea worked at Maker Studios and
HSI Productions.
HSI, and I was at Paramount and Discovery Channel.
Those are all really good.
Yeah. We got a lot. We were really fortunate to get some, I mean, we worked hard, but we got some really cool experiences and
made some really great contacts.
Lived in LA, then we moved back to Austin. Well, you moved to Dallas.
Yeah.
And I moved to Austin for graduation and like life for a little while. And then flash forward, this is a lot of logistical information. 2013? December 2013.
2013 December. So we had graduated in May, had gone back to Texas for a couple months, and then came back in December.
And moved here.
Officially.
As grown adult people that weren't in college.
And have now been here for 4.5 years. But all that to say, female time.
That's our full timeline.
That's our full timeline, yes.
This is right now. That little snippet was a When Harry Met Sally couple on the couch.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
We're actually, 80-year-old men and women, both of them living in the
I'm the 80-year-old man. She's the 80-year-old woman.
Floors. All right.
But all that to say, we had, so Female Friendly, it's funny, so all this time, we act and we write and we do all of the things.
Lay a friendship foundation.
But
the through line of our show.
Yes, exactly. But it's funny because, when we were in school especially, there was definitely a struggle of, should we act? Like, that's so, or because we had gone to school for, just kind of a holistic, overarching film degree. It wasn't
it was more production.
Yeah, it was more production. It was more, get shit done.
Sit in a dark...
You can see shit.
Okay, good.
Sit in a dark room and physically cut film and tape it together,
we did.
Film education, which was great.
Steinbeck.
You were still cutting film?
It was so fun. I loved it so much.
And it was a blast.
Steinbeck,
I believe.
Yeah.
Oh God, we should know that.
Steinbeck. And Bolex, we shot on Bolex cameras.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
So that was and that was part of our class. That was one part of the curriculum. Obviously, we did learn digital, but
I hope they still are. It was my favorite part.
So too. It's just
when you put a computer in front of me and tell me to edit on Final Cut Pro Universe or whatever it is, I'm like, nah, I'm good. But give me
Adobe. But yes,
Final Cut is still a thing. But
is it?
I know.
I edit, so I'm very
potato. But I loved the physical aspect. Because
That's old school.
I was actually leaning towards producing and art direction and art department work. But I think both of us deep down wanted that white whale of acting. And
that's the thing that you really wanted but were afraid to actually say
out loud.
I mean, I had said it when I was like 5, and my mom was like, no, you're going to be an international tax attorney. And I was like,
what?
Yes.
Like, do you know me at all, Mommy?
Mom, I'm 5. I can make my own decisions. But,
Mom, I'm a Valley girl that's 5.
I'm from New York / Texas, but I speak like I'm from the Valley. It's fine.
You are a little actor in the making.
I was. But yeah, so all that to say, we had, we were like, oh God, that would be so cool. And so when basically the birth started, it was kind of a 2-part birth of Female Friendly. My brother is like this very business savvy entrepreneur. He has multiple companies, but he's like, we joke that like he's a creative at heart, and then I joke that like on the outside I'm a creative, but on the inside I'm this like suit, this like corporate suit, because like I have a lot of like business ideas. But when we were driving out to UTLA, we had kind of like tossed around the idea of 2 men starting an artistic porn production company. And we like to include this part in the story just because it just goes to show that like even though we're like feminists, and obviously we, believe that women can do anything that men can do, even better, and backwards and in heels and all the things. When my brother and I were kind of tossing around this idea, we were like, oh, that's like a guy story. That's like a Seth Rogen, Judd Apatow type of story. And then so
they already did it.
Yeah.
Zack and Barry made a porno?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, totally. So, that's like that sort of story. And so we like bounced around that idea. And then I brought it to Taylor, and it was together that at UTLA that we were like, oh, well,
why don't we do it?
Why don't we do it? Like,
and
we can do it. And we want to, get into acting, but it's not something it's something we're a little unsure about. And so we had just talked about it at that point. So that was at UTLA. Fast forward a year later, here we are in Los Angeles, in the jungle. And do you want to talk about our auditioning experiences at first? I mean,
yes, please.
Oh, goodness. Oh,
don't leave anything out.
What audition experiences? Like, it was just, I think we both had that journey where we did the whole self-submit thing at first, like you can't fresh off the boat get an agent at CAA, go figure.
Get the breakdowns off the black market.
Yeah, when she did that. She's like a Google, nothing. She doesn't.
We're not confessing any crimes here.
No, but she can, she's a real sleuth on Google, let's just say that.
I found many casting director email one time I found a casting director's email through a PTA form.
Yeah.
I know. It's just from Googling. I'm an SEO, like search engine optimization. I Google. I know how to Google.
Yeah, they shouldn't put PTA directories on Google for crying out loud.
I got in the deep web for that one. That was weird.
Just in case. So we were seeing...
Because LA PTA lists, I'm just telling you, are full of writers, directors, producers.
Goodness, I'm
absolutely.
Sure. So we're seeing breakdowns for, prostitute number 2 and in any, the wife. It wasn't.
You are girls.
I'm fine with playing a wife, but give me a name. It was all still very much. This was 2013, 2014, and this has been a long journey for everybody. But
but that's not that long ago.
It's not. And it had been that way long before we got here. And the breakdowns, anything that was a good meaty role was very out of touch. In the sense that we didn't have the tools or the representation to get those opportunities.
Right.
And even the auditions or the things I was getting, they weren't the type of women that I wanted to represent, and they didn't feel like me at all. They were either...
Well, because a lot of them were written by men, so it's like this... Yeah. I remember this insane... I did not submit this tape at all, but I remember getting this audition for... the breakdown seemed very respectable, and, they listed off some credits and whatnot. And the audition was, I don't think she had a name. I think it was girl. Not woman, girl. Even though the girl was supposed to be 25, but whatever, it's fine. It's sits down and starts to masturbate essentially while looking at this man and telling him how she feels safe.
When you got this audition.
Yeah,
this is the audition.
I feel so safe with you. I feel you make me feel X, Y, and Z, and all while masturbating. And I was just like,
and then it will like an asterisk under that be like unpaid, nudity required.
This is such BS.
I know.
I
was
did
like,
not go to this.
No,
audition.
I got the break. Or I submitted for it, and not knowing that was part of the deal. And then they had sent me these sides, and it was for a tape to tape at home, and I was self-submit tape. And
it's like, dudes, if you're getting in this business just to get off by manipulating women, F you.
And that stuff comes out all the time. I mean, I can't remember
not to have too much of an opinion on it.
Yeah, we have no opinions, no opinions on this whatsoever. But I mean, there is even, obviously that happens, on a large scale. Harvey Weinstein, have we heard of him? Yes, things like that happen. But yeah, for these, and it's unfortunate because you do see a lot of these, newer, younger women moving to Los Angeles and getting opportunities like that. Opportunities, right? Yeah. In quotes. Hardcore air quoting here. And thinking, well, I guess this is
what you have to do.
This is what you got to do. I need
casting
footage.
I wonder if there was even a production happening with that casting call.
No, I actually know that. I mean, there's it's insane how many stories that we both have. But God, I can count. I know personally in my head 3 right now of men who would continuously put breakdowns out to meet women and for productions that would never happen. And it was they literally described their dream girl of 20 to 25 and curvy but thin but big hair but whatever and just to meet and these are people who have films with distribution too, and then also some people who don't exactly. So it's
gross.
It's gross. It really is. So all that to say, we're smart cookies. It didn't take us too long to catch on that was happening.
We weren't falling for that.
Yeah, and we were like, oh, remember how we had toyed around with this idea a year ago? Why don't we execute?
Yeah, well, and we wanted to be the characters that we wanted to see, I felt like especially in the realm of sexuality on television, especially for some reason, it's kind of gone off the rails. And I'm happy that there's so many different types and people are expressing themselves, and I applaud that, but that isn't my personal journey. I have had a sort of bizarre journey with sexuality in my own right, and so even with I've been with my fiance for 6 years, and even with him, I'm we'll have the sex now, and I'm and I mean that in I wish you could have seen the body motion I just made.
Yeah, it was real good.
It
was very Shakespearean.
Yeah, I'm awkward Shakespeare.
Yeah, that's me, awkward Shakespeare. And so I admire the people that are sexually confident and confident in their bodies and the way they do things, but it's not me. And
it sounds like Jess in The New Girl with that sex scene with her sexy outfit.
It had a shell on it or something. She's actually literally the one exception when I try to think about a character in that capacity that I relate to. Jess in New Girl is the one exception to that. I know Captain Jack's sexuality. Captain Jack is the cat, for those of you wondering. So that is sort of where the idea of Kat and Alex stem from, is that they're very much Chelsea and I as friends and people are very different. But I love everything about her that's different from me. I love and respect, and we just
We're very, very different people.
Yeah. But in a good way. And so
we connect on the that basic human. I think when you meet somebody, it's when you move to LA and you're trying. I had this conversation recently. When you move somewhere and you're trying to meet people, it's finding new friends is almost like dating, and it's you can meet somebody who I remember having many a coffee date with girls that were very similar to me, similar backgrounds, whatever, and just not really vibing with them on a human level and really clicking with them. And it's so despite our differences, we click.
You're each other's people.
Yeah, we're people, and our characters are sort of hyper versions of our true selves.
Yeah. Okay, so now tell me, having this kind of awkward perspective around sex, you heard this idea about opening a porn production company, and you're I'm in. How was that journey?
So the grand irony of my life moving here is that I am very like reserved for the most part in that sense, but yet I produce and perform in a cabaret burlesque group called Cherry Poppins. So I do burlesque and I co-wrote a show about porn. So I think that's to say you can be let your wings fly, you can be whoever you want to be. And you know, I think it goes to show, like, how labels aren't always what you think they are. You know, like, being in a burlesque group does not make you, like, I don't know, like, sexually catty. Is that a thing?
Okay, can we talk more about that? Because you do have kind of, like, the 40s hair going on.
Yeah.
Now, okay, tell me about the burlesque group. Where is it? How did you get in it?
I found an audition on Actors Access. And I later found out when I got there that I knew some of the people involved. The story of auditioning is actually kind of funny.
Were you looking for it, or you saw the casting call?
I saw the casting call, and they needed singers, is specifically what I applied as. So I was like, oh, great, I'll just sing on the side, like a lounge singer, and then, like, someone else will do burlesque. Mm-hmm. That's not me.
Someone else have the big feather.
Yeah, we've got big red feather fans, and I mean, what we do is a very unique brand of burlesque. It's like basically musical theater. We have stories. We're all actors. Like, we all have lines, and they're very cohesive stories. Not just someone comes out on stage and takes their clothes off and then leaves. Yeah, which is great. I love that kind of burlesque. Don't get me wrong, but what we do is very different. We actually have coined the term caburlesque because it's like cabaret style more so.
All right, what's it called and where is it?
It's called Cherry Poppins, and we primarily perform at 3 clubs in Hollywood on Santa Monica and Vine. It's June right now, so whenever this airs, look for us again. But we're currently in the Fringe Festival, the Hollywood Fringe. We have 2 shows, an original musical called Dr. Nympho versus the Sex Zombies. Written by Michael Shaw Fisher. He's wonderful. And then we also have Craftlesque, which is a parody of the 90s movie The Craft. So if you like 90s music, that's great. So all that is to say, that quick aside, I got into a burlesque group in 2015, pretty early on in living here. And it's been really, really great for me. It's helped me feel more comfortable with the idea of even being sexy, because being sexy to me felt like a bad thing before, for reasons that are fine. We don't need to super go into it. But like, being sexy didn't feel like something you should do. It felt like very dirty and not attractive, or, you know, you're luring, like, anyway.
It's all very awkward, like, be sexy.
Yeah. So, but the thing for me in both Cherry Poppins and Female Friendly is that I found my way of being sexy is being funny. And that's okay. Like, I can be serious sexy sometimes, like when I want to be, but it's in my control. But my brand of sexy, if you will, is humor. And it's really exciting on stage to have that, and in the TV web world to know and then, like, own that in my body and in my performances. So yeah, I don't know. My mom is still horrified by the idea. When I tell her we made a show about porn, she, like, whispers that word like it's a dirty word.
Like prison.
Yeah. And she has seen a lot of my Cherry Poppins shows, but every time I come off stage, she's like, you were a very, very good in character. Like, it's not me doing it, it's like me acting.
She has to put it in a box.
Yeah, which is fine. Like, that's
fine.
what acting is. You
Absolutely.
know, like, when you play a murderer, you don't actually go out and murder people to research people murdering. Anyway, that was a long aside, but so porn. Yeah.
And as somebody who's seen every show, because I
Yes,
fangirl
Chelsea's my
so
biggest fan.
hard, I am. It's so funny, and I think one of the things about Taylor and then also the girls in that show is, you know, and something that I've come to realize just with years passing is that, you know, sexiness is just being unapologetically yourself, you know, and just that confidence that comes with, you know, this is who I am and I'm okay with that. And, you know, you aren't that person who, you know, is like, you're not like Jessica Rabbit manifested in human form, right? And that's okay. And that's not bad. And you are unapologetically yourself. And I think that that's amazing. And that's why your fiance loves you. And that's why I love you. And that's, you know, that's, so yeah, that's.
And that's really what we should all be going for, is unapologetic.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. But I think it's a journey to get there.
Well, all the conditioning is telling you to apologize.
Yeah.
And then we literally do it for years. Sorry.
Sorry. Oh, yeah.
And I still do it. And I wish I could be like, I got past that. I rose above. But it is a daily struggle to look at the things I've done in my life, all the accomplishments, entertainment related and otherwise, and be like, yeah, like I don't need to be like, oh, well, I have this like successful, pet wellness blog, but I really didn't do it. The only reason I have it is because X, Y, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or like I did this show, but I got really lucky. Totally. And it's like, fuck that. Like we worked really hard for years, and a lot of that. It's funny, like I think, or at least, okay, I won't speak for everybody, but like for my own personal experience, like when we moved to LA, I did not realize that like so much of you hear about very successful working actors who, talk about like the constant rejection. And in my head, that looked like going on auditions every day and being rejected every day until you get that one yes, right? And I did not realize that, at least in my own personal journey, coming to LA and starting the auditioning game and whatnot, that rejection can look like not having an audition for 6 months.
Yeah, I was going to say, you'll be so lucky to have an audition every day.
Absolutely. And so that rejection and sometimes that rejection is rejecting yourself because, you're like, oh, like, you might go through a period of time, I know I did, where I was like, I'm not good enough. Like I haven't gone through, I grew up dancing. So I grew up on the stage, but in the storytelling, but in a very different form. And I grew up writing as well. But in terms of acting, like I'm not that theater kid who, has been acting since I was 5 years old. And so there was definitely grappling with that was weird, and
dealing with your imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Total imposter syndrome. And anytime, people would be like, oh, like I'd love to grab coffee and pick your brain. I'm like, why? Like I don't have anything to offer. I'm trash.
Yeah, I mean, it's a journey. I mean, I've read almost every book any actor has written about their journey, and so the only one I've ever felt like I related to a little bit was Jenna Fisher. Mm-hmm. She has one that's really more of an actor's guide. It's more of like a how-to, less of a autobiography, but it does have those tidbits. But she's one of the few people who moved here from some like Midwest state. No one in her family worked in the industry. She had been acting like locally in theater, but like she hadn't done anything big. Whereas, I read like Anna Kendrick's book, and she was on Broadway when she was 7 or something like that. And
that's
like,
a different
she was
journey.
Young.
Journey, yeah.
And it took me a while, and Chelsea knows more than anyone, because our first year here together, I would like sit in her room like close to tears, like I don't deserve a seat at the table. Like who am I? It's the imposter thing. Who am I to get this role? I didn't go to school for theater or film or acting. I went to school for production, and I do improv. I got started improvising in Austin.
So how did you guys get past that? Or have you?
I would say for the most part I have. I think they what's that quote? Like courage is not being not afraid, but it's just buckling up.
Absence of fear, but I
think we're talking about two different quotes, but same thing. Like just buckling up and doing it anyways. And I think that whenever anytime anybody's ever asked us like a question similar to that, whether it's like on a personal level or like we've done like a couple of interviews for Female Friendly, it's really the biggest thing I would have to impart on people is just do it and don't so much think about the end result, because I think a lot of the times we go into things and it's like you have this great movie idea or this great series idea, and you talk yourself out of it before you even start, because you're like, oh well, it's going to
take too much time.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's never going to happen.
Yeah. And so we didn't necessarily have like a ton of experience moving here, other than our degrees, which were great, but nothing really replaces just that like those years of experience
in the trenches. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what we did. We created an opportunity for
ourselves.
Dug our own trench and struggled through the trench to get something made. And now we have created a streaming series.
We did it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we're trying to get season 2 made and go on with projects together and apart. And it's
no, always be with me. Never leave me. Don't ever do anything without me. I'm just kidding. I love you.
Taylor is not needy at all. It's totally fine. Please don't leave me.
So, do you guys own now that you are showrunners?
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Are you?
I love it. I eat it up. When we were on set, I'd look around and it was so crazy. And the whole series, what we have was, we shot for 7 days, but the most recent content was 5 days. We shot something like 70 pages in 5 days.
What?
It was a real,
lot.
but it was so fun, and it was like, we were all so high on it that it took us like 2 weeks to like adjust. You know, the stories of our set were, you know, as few and far between as we slept at one of our locations one night in this beautiful office downtown. Thank you again, Heidi from Raw. She gave Raw Natural Born Artist, huge shout out. She twice now has given us a really beautiful shooting space. And Chelsea and I and Mark, Chelsea's boyfriend, slept there overnight because we were afraid we were going to get locked out of the building. Because
There's some issues with the key.
The only way we got in was because of a cleaning crew that comes once a month that happened to be there that Saturday morning we came to shoot. Because I had a key card, but it didn't work for some reason. So
you just camped out there.
So
there's no leaving.
But all of that aside, like, we found a moment, like, I came over to her and I just held her hand and was like, because we had something like 30 people, like, cast and crew, like, and we had this amazing set, 2 cameras, like, the
works, yeah.
It really was, it was a huge step from our first 2 shooting days that were very guerrilla, you know, very in the...
We're all wearing, I mean, and we still obviously wore all the hats, but yeah, like, the first 2 episodes were definitely, that was like a 5-person crew up to like a 30-person crew, so it was
a big change.
It was a big step for us, but it's funny because, like, anytime, you know, and I definitely have days where, you know, we like I said, we struggle with the whole imposter syndrome thing, and you know, like, that's becoming less and less as, you know, the more experiences we rack up and whatnot, and the more wins we have. But yeah, like, we like, I just think back to, like, that time, you know, those, like, when we were in production, and it was insanely overwhelming, and I had never been so tired in my life from the lack of sleep and so much working. And I mean, I got, you know, in pre-production, like, leading up to actual production, like, I remember I would just answer the phone and be like, what's the problem? Like, how? Like, I just stopped the.
Where's the fire?
But, like, I was like, what's wrong? It's fine. Because it just, because it got just, I mean, you know, and everything, of course, Murphy's Law, right? Everything that could go wrong did go wrong, of course.
Sure.
One of our cameras wasn't there until, like, middle of the day.
Yeah.
Sound
you
was
solved
broken,
every problem.
Like,
but we solved,
but everything was all, it worked out.
And we were happy while we were doing it too, and so it was just it just really affirmed that, like, oh yeah, like, we're in our element. And another thing I'll say is, like, it's this just reminds me that, like, going into it was very much about, like, creating opportunities for ourselves as actors, and then but leaving it, like, we have become such different people. Like, I know now that I love acting so much, but I'm putting my eggs more so in the creator basket in terms of, like, and of course, like, everything, I still want to act very much, and I audition, and I have an agent and everything like that, but yeah, like, I think storytelling is so important, and I think that we have stories worth being told on a personal level, and also we're very imaginative, and we've, you know, thought up some really fun stories that maybe we don't have any, you know, personal experience with, but we are, you know, down to do the research for and tell, and so we've definitely become comfortable in positions of power, which is really cool.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, and it's one of those things where I too, you know, I fully had my eye on the prize with acting, and I was like, I want to be an actor, of course. Like, I want to be in a series, I want to be in a sitcom, and those opportunities are incredibly hard to get. And I eventually, like, recently I did get my first, like, TV co-star, and I was like, and now all of the better, like, I was like, everything's gonna change, and then nothing happened in 6 months, but it was fine because we had female friendly, and we still have it, and we still have, like, we have all these other great things we're working on together, but I very much second that. I went into it being like, this is a means to an end. I'm doing all of this so that I can get essentially really good real footage is basically what it felt like at the beginning, the very, very beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then through
That's
the
what
process.
everyone says at the beginning.
Yeah, and then
it's like, I'm not a director or producer. I'm an actor, and I'm just dipping my toe in this.
I'm just getting tape on myself.
I'm getting footage. And then it's, but then as time went on, like it started off, like I said, with that car ride with my brother just being like, two guys are so dumb, like Judd Apatow. And then it turned into, no, we can get footage for ourselves. And then it turned into, no, we have like commentary, like we have things to say, we have opinions, and, we like to think, hopefully it comes through. And I think it has, just based on feedback on the series, we have things to say in terms of, our views of the porn industry, and the patriarchal exclusivity of porn industry, if you will. And, also that reflects of just like mainstream Hollywood and stereotypes. And I mean, we delve into, a lot of things in our short, altogether it's probably like an hour. So it's a streaming series. It's, very short, indie, they're like, 7-minute episodes?
7.
Yeah. So.
But it sounds like it became much more purposeful.
It did.
Yeah. I mean, for us as individuals and us as people that have something to say. And we started this journey before, the shit hit the fan with everything going on in Hollywood.
Before the shit show.
The whole, and I admittedly, sort of, if we're going to go down that rabbit hole, like I saw that happening, like we all did, a long time before, because what a lot of people don't talk about in the media, that's what's happening in Hollywood, is that way before it came out in the more broad strokes of Hollywood as a whole, it was the comedy industry specifically, and like improv and stand-up was just like, for lack of a better word, a cesspool of that, and the sexual harassment and whatnot. So like I was the one who moved here being like, I'm gonna be that girl that somebody finds on an improv stage at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday doing a show, and then they're gonna put me in a series. But I couldn't handle the politics that went into being there. Like it was I had always been in a relationship since living in Los Angeles, which, by the way, shouldn't matter. If I'm a single woman, right, I should have just as much right to say, no, I don't want to sleep with you.
Doesn't mean you're prey.
Yeah, but like the second I would mention that I had a boyfriend, anybody at a show I was at or at an improv class would just stop, like a man would just stop talking to me. It was very bizarre, and so I was really disillusioned.
And just so obvious,
it was
too.
So obvious.
Yeah, like,
and I was like, so I have no value to you as a human unless you can have sex with me?
Well, you're already owned by another man, so...
Yeah. Owned by another man.
Yeah.
Yes. My dowry was 2 horses and a loaf of hay.
And it's so, and I admittedly used to, I've been in a relationship for a long time too, and I admittedly used to do that in my early 20s.
12 years.
12 years?
12 years.
Since high school.
She's a little high school sweetheart baby.
I am. It's so gross. We don't talk about it. Like, we got together at like 16, so yeah.
Did he move out here with you?
He did.
Yeah.
Where were we going with this?
Yeah,
we were going someplace. In my early 20s, admittedly, I used to use the whole, sorry, yeah. I have a boyfriend.
I would go on a date with you, but
and
I wouldn't.
It's so we're so conditioned to be like we were going, like you had mentioned earlier, apologetic, so apologetic about like, oh, I'm sorry, especially a lot of the times these guys were not super, like hardcore creeps. They were just guys asking you, like, seemingly like nice, innocuous dudes, just like, asking you out. And it's like, oh gosh, like we have to, oh, sorry. I totally would,
I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Exactly. And it's just so it's like, and then obviously along the way we learned that is not the way to deal with things, because then the next question is, well, I mean, I can be discreet if you are. It just never stops.
I had she had a
very, very well-known actor.
But we'll call him, like, I would say he was probably like a C-list.
Well, now he's...
Oh, is he higher up now? I try not to, like...
He's on one of my favorite shows. But anyways, it doesn't matter.
I am so excited to turn off the recorder so you can tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he... basically, I met him at a convention, and I was, like, complimenting him on one of his movies that I really liked, and then he started, like, messaging me on Twitter. How romantic. And it was,
public.
like... Yeah, and I was telling him, I was very new in LA, and I wanted to get his perspective. Like, he at the time was the most successful actor I knew, and I was like, I wanted to sit down for lunch, buy him some coffee. How did you get here? Like, how did you get an agent? This is all very new to me. Just have a human interaction with someone.
Which obviously means you want to have sex with him to get ahead.
Oh, yeah. And
totally.
he kept being like, well, you can just come over. And I was like, no, I'm not going to come to your house. Can we go to a coffee shop, or I will buy you lunch? Like, let's go out in public. And he literally, I was like, I did the same thing where I was like, well, sorry, I have a boyfriend. And he was like, oh, well, you mean you wouldn't do it even for me? And I was like, oh, is there like a vomit emoji that I can just send you right now? Because no, I'm not. Just because even if you could literally have held the key to Hollywood, I would not do it for you. But you don't. You're just this like, anyway, that was a passionate side rant. But we have created Female Friendly.
Thank you, because that is a very good illustration of what Me Too is all about.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And like, if people want examples, there's some examples.
Yeah.
And then even in like a less like, aggressive way, I mean, we have like a million stories of just along the way of, meeting people and chatting with them. I mean, I remember, I'll let you tell your story, but I remember I was talking to a director who had definitely some credits under his belt. And this was, before we were really committed. At the time, like, we had our series written, and but we hadn't shot yet. We hadn't shot anything. And so, like, he was a friend of mine, and, older, has been here for a longer time period. And, his first thing was that, well, can't we just like make them like sexier? Because spoiler alert, like when you watch Female Friendly, it's funny because a lot of people go into it thinking it's going to be very vulgar, and it is not. It's not. And, we don't live up to the male gaze. We don't live up to a man's expectation of like what is sexy. We have a blast, and there were many times on set, because I'm definitely like the more outgoing sexual character between the two of us. There was many times on set that I felt in my element and sexy and having fun, but my version of that, right? Once again, going back to being unapologetically yourself, right? Or a version of myself, because like Taylor mentioned, these are very like hyper versions of ourselves. But yeah, this guy was like, yeah, I just feel like it should be sexier, like here you are talking about like a porn production and it needs to be sexier. And I'm like, I mean, that's your opinion.
Well, and even like ladies who are wanting, we all are in relationships. We want the men, or we want the women, whatever we want. Like, it's like I was saying earlier, sexy doesn't have to be like you in a G-string and, stripper heels. It can be you being funny and goofy. Mm-hmm. I guarantee to this day, the reason my fiance, John Dunn, love you out there, fell in love with me is because I was saying that I love Frasier in a non-ironic way. Like, I was talking, we connected because we like Frasier, and being sexy can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
It could be, cutting pickles. I don't know why that would be sexy, but some people love pickles. I looked into your kitchen and was like,
there's no pickles in there.
There's no pickles in there.
I don't know. Anyway, but like be your
imaginative.
Be your own sexy.
Exactly. But another thing that I thought was interesting is Taylor had met with this very successful manager who manages some pretty big people, and didn't he tell you like, oh, this would never get picked up because there's just the market is saturated with too many female shows.
And he said that in 2014.
Because everyone has their one, so the market's saturated.
Yeah, the market's saturated.
Like, this is overdone right now. Female leads are just overdone.
Female leads are overdone.
I'm sorry.
What?
What can you name?
This is a phase that's going to pass shortly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was wrong.
Read the room, dude. Read the room.
Yeah, and it's like on top of that, like, I talked to really many great guy friends who, I remember having this one conversation with one of my friends, and he does stand-up pretty regularly, and we were talking about just our favorite stand-up comedians, and I think Ali Wong's first special had just come out, which if you have not seen her...
Is that the one where she's pregnant?
She's pregnant both of them.
She's pregnant both of them.
Yeah, so Baby Cobra was, I think, 2 years ago, like 2016, and then, she just came out with Hard Knock Wife, which oh my God, she's like my spirit animal.
I haven't watched
I just watched one of them on Netflix. I don't know which one it was.
It probably was Hard Knock Wife, because that's the one that they're putting all the heat behind.
I couldn't believe what she was saying.
So fun. I mean, neither Taylor or I have children, unless you count my dog, Baby Rose, who's 12 years old, which I do, totally. But, I mean, God, like, she's just like... She's so funny. I love her so much. But we were talking about, with this one male comedian I was chatting with, like, he was just like, oh, yeah, like, she's not really my thing. And I was like, how can she not be your thing? Like, she's just hilarious, like, no matter what way. And I know everybody has preferences, and that's okay. She's unapologetic, exactly, which I think that's what makes her so attractive. As a comedian. But this guy was like, well, I just can't relate. And I was like, well, growing up, we had to watch, and I don't even want to say had to watch, because I love a lot of those movies starring male leads that are like funny and silly and dramatic, anything like, especially in the 90s growing up.
Has learned how to have
relate
to white men.
Exactly.
And they have not had to do that.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I don't understand like how I could like a movie with a female lead. It's like, and I respect that there are, sure, like differences between, men and women and whatnot, sure, but like at the same time, like there's something universal about the human experience and human emotions that we all feel, no matter where you're from, no matter what your circumstances are. And if you cannot get past the fact that they have tits, then that's a problem for them. It's a very myopic view.
Some men have tits. So.
That's true. And that is also okay. It's all okay.
You can be you. Be
it's
you.
all okay.
So I'm hearing everyone has a lot of inner work to do before we get to total equality.
Well, I guess, what about, I don't know, we can talk about female friendly more. I feel like we just... we got so passionate. I'm like, give me a soapbox to talk about this industry, because I have things to say.
I don't mind at all. Are you guys repped as showrunners and writers? Are you out there pitching?
So that is our next step. We have, the 9 episodes, season 1, if you will, under our belt, and we are currently looking, those of you managers out there, for management specifically is really, I know what my journey is. I'm repped as an actor, agent-wise, but I really do want to find a manager that will help curate my career as a whole, specifically now going into this newfound complete and utter love for showrunning and writing. And I think, Chelsea, we were talking about getting management as like a duo, because we have projects on our own as well, and then we're primarily like partners in crime. So I don't know how that would work if you get a manager as a writing pair.
I think you do.
So yes, we are both actively seeking management and I suppose agents for the writing realm, because I know they are separate completely from acting. But our pitching process now, we are aiming, like we would love to get the show and the big picture. What we have is basically a proof of concept pilot, if you will, for what could be a bigger series on any of the hundreds of platforms that you can have content on, networks, digital, whatever. And so like whether it's someone comes in and says, hey, this is an amazing concept, let's shoot a bigger, I hesitate to say better, but like a bigger production of it and make it a 22 series sitcom arc or 22 episode, it's pretty malleable. The story could be, honestly, like it could be a feature. It could be like a fun buddy comedy feature, but I think we both...
You're talking about a new project right now?
No, about female friendly.
Oh, female friendly, okay.
I think that
as far as the pitch, you asked about the pitching process. We are happy also, like, we have some contacts at like CWC and places like that, and I think it is definitely within our reach to get funding for season 2 in the same style of which we are... had produced our season 1.
Because there's a lot, if you watch the series, there's definitely...
Are you ready to go outside, Jack? You had fun with us and now you're done?
This podcast is getting more and more domestic.
Yeah.
Do you have other projects you're developing?
Yes, we do.
They said excitedly.
Yeah. We're like, ooh.
Well, we're working on things together and separately, but I think, it would, since we're here together, I think it would be appropriate to chat a little bit about the project we're working on together, which would be another series, a Western.
Wild Wild Women.
Yes, a Western.
Tentatively titled.
Tentatively titled.
We love alliteration, particularly me.
Who doesn't?
Female friendly, Wild Wild Women.
Yeah, right? But yeah, basically, growing up, we both were huge fans of like action adventure, like Wild Wild West, Will Smith, hey, which I loved that album, by the way. It was like just so good. I would like jam out to it at like 8 years old.
The soundtrack?
Yeah. Album, soundtrack? I don't know what.
Well, for a movie it'd be a
LP.
soundtrack.
Soundtrack, yes. And we kind of, were chatting about like, we miss seeing those sort of things because, right now there's a lot of, IP. There's a lot of like Marvel movies and this and that, and which is cool. But yeah, like I think a Western, and specifically, we. Do you want to take the lead on what it's about, or the history behind it, rather?
Yeah. So, sorry, Mom. again, all of the things that I've somehow cultivated in my life are very interesting topics. So basically, back in 1869, you can't make that up. That's just for those of you with a mind that goes there. 1869 is the year. This is history. In the Wild West, specifically in like Colorado and Montana, I believe, Wyoming.
But Wyoming was the state.
Wyoming was the specific state. They were the first state to allow women voting rights.
The right to vote, but like decades, obviously, before the rest of the country.
And
how progressive.
I know, just as a state. And basically the theme of our show is that entire towns were built around brothels because that's where the money came from. And they call it the oldest profession for a reason. Because women were really in control of economies for town, because the madam, if you will, of these brothels would hand money to another woman and be like, okay, go build a school. Okay, go build a market, and they would build an entire town around a brothel.
So these women were business women, and I just, and we had kind of chatted about how a lot of times, sex workers are portrayed in a very negative light, and it's like, this old, Clint Eastwood type of dude, John Wayne type of dude, like slapping this, woman around, and it's like they were actually business women and very valuable to the community.
I read a pitch the other day, which was 3 cowboys move west with their whores.
Oh, okay, yeah.
With their whores.
There you go. Like that's
the perception.
That is the perception, and and we still. And the unfortunate thing is, she was saying, like it's the oldest profession, and what are a lot of the times we still, even self-proclaimed feminists, like have a very specific outlook on sex work. And
well, yesterday Giuliani said that Stormy Daniels had no credibility because she worked in porn. This is not an old notion.
Yeah, right. No, not at all. And it's and I think that's changing, right? With it's kind of, if you will, there's like a new wave that has happened recently, and so I think it's becoming more inclusive and intersectional and whatnot. But yeah, like that's been the portrayal of sex workers for a long time, and so I think I think our struggle right now is trying to find a way to spotlight the topic and but do it in our voice, which our voice is like, we're
comedy.
Comedy and
there are really dark topics.
There are some
that
really
are associated with it as far
absolutely.
As abortion and disease, and there's a lot of.
It wasn't all fun and games.
Well,
we
want it to be grounded in truth and honesty about like how it actually was, but we do want to do it in a more comedic, call it a dramedy maybe, like
I think like we were talking about with the Wild West and kind of that like action adventure type of comedic, but also dealing with like real issues.
Because there's another show out right now on Comedy Central called Another Period, and that's based I think in the late 1800s. And it's a comedy about another period, obviously, and the two lead women but it's very
sketch comedy,
caricature, like they talk about the weird issues like incest and stuff, but it's so caricature-y that I don't relate to that kind of comedy personally, and it has like some really funny moments, but it feels like a really long sketch, and we want to make something that is a little more grounded and feel like real people. So that was sort of, I don't know, we love the idea of doing a Western. My character is going to be like a knife thrower. I just want to have a knife in my garter belt at all times. We've talked about wanting to make like, our first project together, Female Friendly, in the show is referred to as Female Friendly Productions. And we want to create an actual production company that is called the same name as an honor to our first project. And all of our stories that we have and log lines that we've worked on are all very like female based and female empowerment. And so that's sort of, we just wanted to do something a little different, but we're going to need a way bigger Seed and Spark campaign to fund a period Western. But
okay, let's talk about your campaign for a minute, because we were talking before we turned it on, like how brutal the fundraising campaigns are, but it seems like that's how everyone is funding their independent work now. So what was that like for you guys?
It was stressful. I mean, I remember getting a audition for a film in the middle of our Seed and Spark campaign, and I actually am very fortunate in the sense that I do not get too nervous. Like I don't suffer from crippling anxiety when I go into the audition room. I've been able to have like a lot of fun with my auditions. And I just was so stressed out because it was in the middle of our campaign. I was so stressed out to this date, it's the worst audition I think I've ever had. I just started
Your
trembling.
brain was elsewhere.
It was, and I just started I like flubbed a word, which is like whatever. Like it's like very human to flub a word, and I just started trembling. I was like, where is this coming from? And I was just like,
you're like crying.
I was like, I'll let myself out. It's fine.
Did you say that?
No, I did not. I did not.
Like, you'll just be like,
I did not.
You literally flub a line and just leave.
No. It was so much.
I gotta go.
And who knows, right? Like because I've definitely left auditions where I'm like, I killed it, and then they're like,
nailed it.
No. But yeah, like it was definitely.
Well, you can still kill an audition, but they're like, her hair's not right, or this. That's
I mean, yeah,
sort of
there's
to
a
dial back to our last part of the conversation is like advice out there for you actors. It's not personal. Don't take it personal if you don't book something. It never has anything to do with you.
And tying that into the current conversation about Seed and Spark, I think that one of the things. So start with the pros. Number one, Seed and Spark is amazing. Emily Best knows what is
highly
up.
Recommended.
Like she,
if you have to crowdfund.
Even if you are dead set on doing, a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo or something like that, Seed and Spark still offers these amazing free complimentary resources to somebody campaigning, and that really got us through because it's hard, and we had chatted a little bit before this about how hard it is to ask for money, and especially how hard it is, going back to being a woman and being apologetic, and that's something I still have
worthy.
to. I know it's like I'm not worried, especially at this point we did not have any streaming show on a digital platform.
It takes chutzpah.
It does. So it was stressful because you start to build up this narrative in your head about how you're not worthy and about how like why would somebody give me money? Like I don't want to be annoying.
It's embarrassing.
Exactly.
Well, and a foundational element that Seed and Spark trains you, like it's like going to school. There's training videos and all of these things. They really do set you up for success. And a huge notion of what they talk about is you have to go beyond the circle of friends and family. Like you can't just ask friends of friends and family. You need to reach a bigger audience. And so it's even scarier than like it's easier to be like, hey dad, I need some help. But like to be like, hey stranger that I've never met, I have something of value that I think will help your life or be interesting or funny. Can you give me $5? Can you give me $10? Can you give me $100? And it's very weird asking for money from people you've never met. And that's a harder barrier to break through.
And but on the other side of that is, so many people came out of the woodwork and so many people we didn't even know. I mean, we were getting emails from people that were like, oh my God, this is hilarious. I want to give you money. We've never met, and by no means like it wasn't like a ton of people, but we definitely got a couple of those emails, and it was really cool to see. So while scary, I kind of going back to what we said in the beginning, just do it. If this is what you need to do, you just have to do it.
Yeah.
And you prep to the best of your ability and you get it done. And going back to what Taylor was saying about don't take it personal in terms of auditioning. It really does give you a newfound respect for, when you go into that audition room, you've probably been prepping your sides for, a couple days if you're lucky, sometimes morning of, right? And then you go in 2 o'clock that afternoon, whatever. And, when you walk away and you don't hear back or whatever, can be very, a blow. But then I think it's important to just like keep things in perspective in the sense that like this project, whatever you have the opportunity, the opportunity to audition for, the privilege of auditioning for, it's been in the works for a long time, probably years, right? Like, especially if it's like on an indie level, like, like it takes a lot of work. And so it gave us a new found perspective of just being like, wow, this is not just like write something and just just like get it up there, right? Like there are steps to the process.
Yeah. So being on the other side of the table is giving you a whole new perspective for auditioning.
Absolutely.
You
look so much more. Even literally the other side of the table in auditions, when we held auditions for Female Friendly.
Yeah.
Like you learn so much. Like any actor out there, be a reader for a casting director.
Yeah.
Get in an audition room that you're not auditioning for. Like, because seeing other people audition is incredibly eye-opening.
Yeah.
You know, like it's fascinating because you see the choices people make, and some of them are amazing, and some of them are
off-base.
daring.
Yeah.
Or just wrong.
Or just wrong.
And then it's hearing the chatter after the audition that's really valuable.
Yeah.
We were the chatter in our own, but
I'll tell you, hearing the chatter in the room is what drove me out of acting.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, I don't want people talking like that about me.
Yeah.
Well, I was a production assistant on a huge company's commercial. Again, we'll save the wicked, and I won't say the name. And it was literally one of those things, like you hear these stories of people saying, I didn't get cast because my hair is this color or whatever, but like
making stuff up.
Seeing it actually happen is another thing. Like I was sitting in this audition room for this huge company, you know, on the production side, and it was they're auditioning families, and after the family left, one of the like high up producers just said, they were actually my favorite so far, but I had an ex named Tammy, so I could never work with someone named Tammy.
Yeah.
And it was literally just because of their name. Like
I've heard that story so many times of, she reminds me of my ex-wife.
Yeah.
No.
So that is a real thing that happens, and that's what.
And there's nothing you can do about that.
You just have to let it go.
Yeah.
It's true. And I think as an actor especially, both of us have been listening to this really great podcast called Audrey Helps Actors by Audrey Moore. Yeah, and she's a working actor. She's currently on Godless, which is a female-driven Western, which is, it's awesome. It's an amazing show on Netflix. And I mean that, thank you so much.
We're pouring the coffee.
Yes, it's a crucial part of the process. But yeah, like she talks about that all the time, how, it's not, you have to, as an actor, you're right, there isn't anything you can do. If you look like the casting director's ex-wife, or, a lot of casting directors are women, so ex-husband, whatever, or, either or, I mean, you can't do anything about that, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to fall in love with the work, and you have to fall in love with, the process. And I would say on the creator side as well, it's like, it's not, we didn't love having to ask for money. Like, I wish I could have come out and been like, I'm an expert at asking for money, and now I have no fear. No, bullshit. Like, I hope to not have to do that again.
Did you relish doing it again?
Right. I hope not. We don't have to, but I mean, honestly, we probably will. In some way, or at least the asking for money never stops, right? Like that never stops. And especially in indie film, but you just have to kind of, like I said, fall in love with the process a little bit. And
I agree.
Yeah.
Something I would also recommend is, it's tried and true, but go to festivals, meet people at festivals. If you can get even, it's the Duplass brothers had that Sundance short. John, my fiance told me recently, he just read their book. They just came out with a book. And he said that they produced this huge, like $150,000, $200,000 indie project or something before that short. And so they had we've done it. We made this huge indie project. We have this big budget. And apparently they hated it. They hated the movie. They didn't like the way it came out. Whatever, la-di-da. They move forward. They spend $15, buy this cassette tape, and then make this indie short that cost them $15 that got all this notoriety at Sundance. So the point is, it doesn't matter if you have $200,000 or $20. You can make something interesting. So do it. Take a leap. Submit it to a festival. And that's how we got Seeka TV, And because of that, they were the first ones to be like, this is great. Here's some money. And so we had...
How did that feel?
Really good. That was amazing. I figured that, choosing this as our careers for the foreseeable future, hopefully a long time, that eventually somebody would give us money to do something, mm-hmm. right? But yeah, it happened pretty early on, and we hadn't been to that many festivals. I think we were finalists in the LA scripted. Yeah, we were finalists in the LA Scripted Comedy Festival that year, and then we got into Austin Web Fest, which we had some cool nominations for. And yeah, that was our second festival. And I get this email. I'm on my couch. I wasn't able to go, but Taylor went. And so I got this all the female-friendly website emails go to my email. So I just got this email, and I was like, this sounds like a scam.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel...
This can't be real.
Yeah, I feel like he's about to ask for my routing number, and like, you know, there's like, you know,
some bank account in Jamaica.
Exactly. Some stuff is going to go down. But no, he was very real, and Taylor met with him. I still haven't met with him to this day in person. It's been
You've
all...
not met George in person?
No, think about it. You met him once in Austin Film Festival. We've met Megan, our exec producer who works under George. She's come out to LA a couple times, and she's wonderful.
Wow.
But yeah, like everything's been... Look at the beauty of technology. There's a dark side, a la Black Mirror, and there's a very positive side, which, you know, it's a wonderful platform to bring people together. I mean, I've met so many people online. We met our director online on a female-driven, you know, an entertainment group.
Frankie and Gracia, we love you.
Yeah. I found, oh gosh, well, we have a funny casting story.
Julie.
Yeah. we had lost our, we had, you know, put
this story.
For one of our main characters,
Aunt
Sandra, who's this lovely Southern, very unapologetic woman, who plays Taylor's aunt. And we had this really lovely actress in place, but what was it, like 3 days? I think 3 days before production, her manager calls and he's like, look, she loves it. She loves the project. Just one problem. She has a gospel album coming out. And this is, if you watch the show, or like, I mean, this isn't a spoiler alert. Aunt Sandra is like our most sexually forward character in the show.
She owns a string of sex shops. Like
It's
is very
She's
easily the
most
most sexual character in the show.
Oh, easily, yeah. And so, you know,
So did she back out?
she did. So we lost.
She wanted to change everything. Basically, she was like, which was really charming, and we really liked her.
We really
she did
liked
a great
her,
job,
and,
but because she didn't want to let the project go because she really did love it and what it stood for. But she was like, how about, what if she's a romance novelist? And like, she was building this whole different character, which was really sweet. But we were like, if we were about to shoot in 3 days, that would change everything.
Yeah.
We can't do all of that right now.
And I think it's important, you know, just in life to never make decisions out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, there was definitely a moment where we were like, wait, should we do? And then we were like, no, like no. Like,
So you recast her?
So we recast her, and we found Julie on...
What a sweet, blessed angel.
Oh, God,
she's our...
amazing. She's so talented and fit it to a T.
Julie Cuccia.
Yes, and I found her, I just like put it on my Facebook, my personal Facebook page, and I was just like, hey, I need this type of actress, and a woman I know tagged her, and I auditioned her via Skype, and she was so perfect, and I was like, this is more perfect.
So it worked out better
for the role. Yeah, exactly. For this role, she was a better fit than our original choice, and so it really came together. So don't make decisions out of fear.
Yeah, that's something that's I'm still trying to learn, because I think
all of us are, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and that's something I've really come to feel in the last few months specifically, is I realized all the decisions I was making out here were sort of fear-based. I was sort of trying to live up to this picture of what I wanted my life to be. Mm-hmm. And not in a good way, not in an aspirational way, like, oh, I want to get here and have these things and these credits. But it was like, I'm not successful unless I do this. Mm-hmm. And that's just, you're cutting your knees off to spite your feet, or whatever that saying is.
Cut your nose off to spite your feet.
Whatever. What about your knees? Knees are...
You need those too.
Okay. You need knees.
Knees work.
I have bad knees, so that's what I went to.
A new modern spin.
And so what this is a bit of a personal journey thing. I feel so liberated because I finally am just like, I'm 27 years old. Like, if I am not on a series right now, it's fine. I am. I made my own. There. Great. I did it.
Done.
You know, and I'm loving the journey more now. You know, like that corny saying that's on like posters with, you know, the ocean, and it says, life is about the journey, not the destination. Listen to those posters, because it really is.
They're kind of true, even though the posters seem kind of stupid.
They're so corny, but corny is awesome. Yeah. And it's very true. And so now I'm just enjoying the process, and I'm living the life I want to live and doing the things I want to do. And I'm finding ways that acting fits into that. Because everything was super fear-based for me. I was like, I can't spend more than 3 days in Austin because my agents will drop me. And I was like, well, then they're not the right fit for me.
I mean, you still have your phone in your pocket, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because this is the
technology.
life. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to gush about it a little bit of, let it go. Have fun. Don't live in fear.
I love all of that.
To be your little love pixie of the day.
What did I not ask you that I should have asked you that you want to talk about?
Like, obviously, like, watch the series and, like, here's how you watch it or follow us, but...
We will link to it on my website.
Oh, great.
That's
Perfect.
easier. Whenever I hear on podcasts and they say, like, follow me on Instagram at la la la, I'm like, I'm
listening to my phone
driving.
and
You're like, I'm driving, I can't write that down.
I can't do that.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the final note for me is sort of what I was just saying, like, don't make decisions out of fear. If you have a story, write it, and it will come to pass in whatever way that happens. Like, maybe, let go of the notion it may not be a network show, your first thing, but there's so many ways to make things now. Literally pick up any iPhone and shoot
4K.
something.
Like,
just like practice your craft and enjoy the process of it, and let go of the notion that you have to be this kind of person to do that. Like, no one has to tell you that, oh, well, you have this degree, you have these accolades, so now you're in the right place to do No,
no one is checking your degree at the door of Hollywood.
No one has ever asked me where I went to college or if I went to college in LA. Never once. So just pick up a phone and shoot a video of your cat doing something funny, and then write VO for it.
Captain Jack definitely needs
Captain Jack is a star. He's the real star of this show.
It's true. It's true.
I should post about him, but I'm resisting being the crazy cat lady.
Be the crazy cat lady.
Yeah.
All right, maybe I will.
Embrace it. Female friendly. I feel like we almost didn't talk about it at all, but I don't know. I just had so much fun just chatting with you.
This is really fun. Thank you so much.
It's the coffee table feeling where you're like, oh, we're just having a regular conversation.
Just a little chat, yeah.
Totally.
About
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
You've been listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. I'd like to thank Chelsea Rivera and Taylor C. Baker for sharing their stories. And special thanks to Jay Rowe, Danny Rosner, and Allison McQuaid for the music. Please find us on your favorite podcast provider and leave a review. And of course, on our website, theother50%.com, all spelled out, for added features, bios of our guests, and the merch. You can also follow us on all the social media platforms. And also go subscribe to the Kiss My Age show. Thanks for listening. See you next time.